Francis Ngannou moved from Cameroon to Nevada as a young fighter looking to get a shot at pro fighting. Now having achieved greatness in the sport, he's looking to switch sights once again and jump into the boxing ring. That's if he can get past the Fury clan. The camp is eyeing Ngannou and his rise through the ranks with the seriousness it deserved. And the most serious of those concerns were voiced by none other than the champion's father, John Fury. He said that the former UFC champ is going to be the one to look out for. It's hard to ignore him anyways, since the Predator is 6'4", 258 pounds, and built like an absolute tank.
Maynard's phone to try to get a matchup with Ngannou. Down goes the Reem. Francis Ngannou has arrived.
This combination of size, speed, and dynamic fighting allowed in the octagon means that he's going to be just as lethal, if not more, in a boxing match. Plus, Tyson's dad has done his work and put in his dues managing his son's careers since the very beginning. And what's his verdict? That Ngannou is a dinosaur, a behemoth, and both factors combined make him a dangerous opponent. In John's mind, though, there's no doubt that Ngannou is a bigger risk than Usyk already.
Oh, big shot by Usyk.
And he's never even fought the guy. But the Gypsy Kings camp says Ngannou's background in MMA and lack of experience in boxing makes him unpredictable and an even more dangerous threat. All it takes is one punch to get the knockout, particularly when the Predator wants it as bad as he does. According to the former UFC champ, he's listed Tyson as his closest competition. The former heavyweight showed he was willing to put his money where his mouth is when he called out Anthony Joshua and Fury as potential competitors he'd want to face. His interview with MMA Hour reminded me of a younger Francis who came to UFC after a journey that took him halfway around the world.
Undisputed UFC heavyweight champion of the world, Francis.
That finally landed in the octagon, and he's never looked back since. That kind of spirit is a once-in-a-lifetime gift, but Francis is ready to give it his all to boxing now, and that is a dangerous prospect. The heavyweight division knew that all too well, with word around the block being that no one wanted to challenge the Predator in his prime. Perhaps that's also why the 36-year-old had so few title fights. He's fought only one title defense against Cyril Gane.
10 seconds. And it looks as though Ngannou will end the fight in a relatively dominant position. Incredible.
In the matchups that were organized both before and after, he always prepared for an all-out war. That's what the fans got to see in the cage, and that's also what made him a great boxing contender. The former UFC heavyweight champion has still held up as the champion who never lost his title. While he eventually did give up his title before he could leave the promotion, he's now looking to rack up more titles. This means taking on the best from the boxing world, Tyson Fury.
Even than we hoped. Better. Wow. Sensational. A minute 10 into round number 11.
Who would know it would go like this?
Not only is it just Tyson, but it's a package deal that includes the talent pool that the Gypsy King has surrounded himself with. This team has taken him to the top floor of boxing elite, and that's where the best MMA heavyweight in the world is aiming. The current free agent moved well.
And leave these big openings.
Knockdown for Ngannou. Stipe back to his feet, eats another uppercut. Nice counter right from the inside. Who's knocked down and out? Francis Ngannou.
In addition to being a brute force that knocked down anyone unlucky enough to connect with his uppercut.
He's fighting at range. Arlovsky fires, just misses. Ngannou comes over the top of the left and boom. Beautiful follow-up to his counter with that right hand.
This was a new, more agile and dynamic period in the heavyweight division. Another historic mark he left on the division was being the first reigning champion since BJ Penn to leave the UFC without losing his title in a championship fight. That's a big achievement, making him the first champion to go out while on top since Penn's resignation in 2004. The Cameroonian's grit has taken him to a total of 17 wins out of his 20 bouts over his UFC career.
Shot with the right hand. Does Blade's recovery still wobbly on his feet? Mark Goddard's taking a closer look. Ngannou's powering in. Oh, this is bad news.
That's it. Francis Ngannou.
The domination was certainly complete now, and the French Cameroonian was ready to move on to his next interest, boxing.
From Dillian White.
And while there are plenty of promotions in MMA working small-time gigs and venues, UFC is the place to be. Once you've laid the framework here, where would you go? Lately, crossing over to the boxing ring has become a popular post-UFC strategy for fighters. The Predator is no stranger to this trend, but he's got one more thing working for him. He has a background in boxing already, especially since boxing was the heavyweight's first love. His poverty-stricken upbringing on one side and his love for boxing on another. That was the combo he needed to fuel his success later on, choosing to use boxing to get out of his village and off the street. Ngannou fought against his family and circumstances to start training in boxing. The champion went so far as to go to Paris to make a career in professional boxing, but through a series of events called life, he ended up in MMA. The longtime fan of Mike Tyson has already trained in the boxing ring, and combined with his MMA-oriented striking, he's gonna have less of a hard time crossing over to the ring. No one knows this better than Fury himself, with the WBC champ having made several callouts of Ngannou and slowly building up their way to a super fight between the two strikers. You need to remember, it's not just Francis versus Tyson, it's MMA versus boxing. In this battle of heavyweights, the two-time world champ Tyson Fury will go against the UFC heavyweight champ who's been on a winning spree since 2018.
Paris, as they bring in guys
Oh! Ngannou knocks Arlovsky down. That is it! The Predator Francis Ngannou.
It's a blockbuster matchup, but look past the window dressing, and you'll see that this is a match several years in the making, as UFC and by extension MMA gains more currency in the martial arts. Boxing's domination of pay-per-view has been challenged like never before. There's big potential here to create an exciting matchup for the fans that watch both MMA and boxing, and are looking to decide the heavyweight of the world from both arenas. This possibly was first explored back when McGregor versus Mayweather happened. Now it's come full circle with a fight between two heavyweights on the top of their game. This makes the match really high stakes, and that's absent from Fury's upcoming fight against Usyk. Though the Ukrainian is a great competitor, it doesn't create the high stakes Ngannou's interest in Tyson creates. The feeling is mutual. From needing the Predator to come to join the big boy game and putting on a super fight, it's interesting to see this level of interest from the two-time WBC champ. That should tell you how strong the MMA champ really is. In fact, it might have done more. Sonnen thinks it shows Tyson's afraid of being knocked out by the Predator. In his trademark good cheer and infectious energy, the Irish pro decided to set the terms, and they might have shown us his hand too. Let's dial back to what he proposed. 4-ounce gloves and a cage match. Oh yeah, and a bad referee like Iron Mike Tyson. So the boxer wants a cage match instead of a ring fight. Now that's a crazy hybrid match we've never seen before on such a high level. Chael Sonnen called this a bluff, where Fury's willing to bend the rules to give himself some leverage and to save some face in the case of a loss. You can just say the format didn't work, or it wasn't true boxing or real MMA. The arguments go either way. It may have revealed that the heavyweight champ is sweating his matchup with the Predator. When an individual like Ngannou knows fully what he's getting into and has the chops to back it up, he has the upper edge for sure. On the other hand, Tyson's just beginning to figure out what his competitor is made of. He won't know who he's facing for sure until they're finally in the same ring. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.